Greetings, y'all. Happy Monday. I'm gonna be eating during this little video because eating and drinking coconut water. It's my little breakfast, and I really need it. And dried mango, freeze dried, sugar free mango. I wanted to just share about vulnerable males, vulnerable men. I think I'm gonna start a podcast called Inspired Conversations, but as here nor there, somebody take that. Trust me, I'll make something else up. But I was listening to Van Hunt's song, Daredevil. And if you don't know Van Hunt, he is currently Halle Berry's partner. But for me, he's been one of the most amazing writers I've ever witnessed. He is able to share his emotions as a man in a vulnerable way where it's still very masculine, and it doesn't always lead or have anything to do with sexual interactions. It's simply just him being vulnerable, and I just think that is so beautiful. And the song Daredevil, my favorite part is I guess you can somewhat call this the chorus. He says, "You don't know anything until you open up your heart and find that you can't stop bleeding, and you're playing with your cards out on the table, flying without wings. You're a daredevil." And I started to think to myself about just dealing with men and their lack of ability to be emotional. So shout out to those who, especially black men, who allow themselves to be vulnerable with their partners. Because I know sometimes, in some cases, when men are vulnerable, they feel like women bite their head off. You know, it's like, I'm telling you the truth, I'm giving you my heart, and you snapping at me. And the reality is, I don't know why women do that. I don't do that. I don't know why I don't do that. And shoot, at this point, I want to just give an appreciation to any brother who has taken the time to share with me how they felt about me, regardless of the response. Like, that was a risk. And regardless of what, I absolutely loved it, and I care. And I think about you, and I appreciate you, because every time I experience that, it's not an ego thing where you make me feel better about myself. You make me feel better about society and the fact that black men are able to share. And I'm not about to get in your way and remove you from blessing some other beautiful woman who deserves all that you have to offer. But moving on from that, it's just, I think as women, sometimes we really have to get to a point where we find vulnerability in a man attractive. I do. I always have. I remember that this is why we like androgynous men, you know, like Prince. He's able to share that feminine side. Lenny Kravitz, he's able, because he dresses with those tight clothes, it makes him a little more vulnerable, and it's very attractive. I always thought, man, I thought Maxwell was fine when I was a kid. Oh, my God. And I was the only one I knew in my environment that thought he was good looking. And everybody was like, oh, he corny, he this, he that. I'm like, man, that man is gorgeous. And he's Maxwell. I mean, but what I found attractive about him was his ability to be vulnerable in his clothes and his speech and his dress, everything. It was a lot of vulnerability. One of the reasons why it was so hard, and this came up in a conversation recently, because I'm finally like at a place where I'm really good after being divorced, right? And one of the reasons it was so hard for me to let that brother go, and I held on to him with my hands, feet, teeth, and everything, was because my whole life, something has happened with me where I have a tendency to attract big bullies who looking for a mother, and they want to walk all over my face and then ask me to cook them a meal. Like, what? And he didn't do that. So it was really nice. And you know, now being single for so long, I've just stay single. And the bullies, oh, they still come. They still come with the cars and all the stuff. And but now, you know, I'm just not into it. And at this point, if I'm 40 something, you 50 something. How that's cool to you, I don't know. But you're gonna need a 20-year-old to stand with that stuff. But anyway, I said that to say, like, it is so wonderful to see black men be vulnerable in whatever way they can. So for us sisters, let's allow men to be attractive that are showing some form of vulnerability, not necessarily having that egotistical shell all the time. It might be cute at first or whatever, but the reality is if they're not vulnerable in some way all the time, they're not vulnerable. They won't be vulnerable with you. They won't be vulnerable with her. They won't be vulnerable with anybody because it's not a characteristic that they have. So, inspired conversation. Y'all be well and stay well. Peace.